Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here. Welcome to the Shakti Flow Summit, where we learn how to embrace our feminine flow to receive more joy, balance, and energy. My name is Helene Westlund, and I am your Shakti guide on this journey. In this circle, no time exists, so everyone who is listening or watching this now or later are all included in our energy in this circle right now. Today's interview is called How to Have a Conversation with the Universe, the art and science of intuitive communication that confidently and consistently unlocks your purpose, power, and potential. Here to talk about it is Heather Shae. Heather is an internationally recognized intuitive empath and empowerment coach who helps spiritual seekers and healers ditch their demons and take their power back through cultivating strong intuitive skills and connection to their soul's truth. She's a certified life coach and mentor with HeartMath and is currently finishing her master's degree in clinical mental health counseling at the University of North Florida. She currently works with clients all over the world via Skype in her signature down-to-earth style full of humor, heart, and the occasional swear word. So welcome, Heather.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I am so excited to talk about this subject.
Yeah, I am excited too, because this is really interesting, the science behind the intuitive.
Sure.
We all have intuition, I guess, both men and women. But can we just start about to speak about your journey, how this all began for you?
Sure. So I love what you just said about the fact that every human being on earth is an intuitive, right? So I think that we all sort of hold this idea that, following our intuition or being in flow is a special state that's reserved for a few people who have special abilities, right? And I can see why we kind of feel that way, because it does sort of appear that way, right? I know in my case, that was certainly the truth for the first 35 years of my life. I did not consider myself an intuitive. Hell, I didn't even consider myself spiritual or into any of these higher concepts that, we as awakened beings live our life by. So long story short, what awakened me into using my intuitive abilities was in 2012, I had a medical crisis that was really bad. So I'd had a chronic illness. And in 2012, I had a major surgery. It was like my fourth one in like 5 years. It was absolutely insane. But I had this really, really bad illness with this surgery that didn't go well. As a matter of fact, it almost killed me. So one night in meditation, I had learned to meditate previous to this whole illness, because I had heard that meditation was really good at reducing pain. Because like my doctors were basically just giving me pain medicine, like you read about. There's an opioid crisis in America for a reason, guys, and it's because they just give you pain pills like crazy. And I did not want to be on pain medication. I did not want to get addicted to it. It was very, very bad. So I had learned to meditate. And what I found was that I could drop into these flow states, like you're saying, Shakti flow. Now I realized it was just me being in flow with my energy. But I found that I could drop into those states like really, really easily. So one night laying there realizing how sick I was, it became very clear to me that I might lose my life. And I grew up in a very, very conservative religious home. Anything new agey was considered to be like, the devil, right? Like you don't touch it. You don't talk about it. Like that's evil. That's crazy. So you got to understand where I was coming from prior to this. Very in the box, people. So it was just like, crazy for me to even be meditating, but whatever, when you're that desperate, you don't care. So, laying there one night, I was just very angry and bitter. I had lived my life doing everything I thought was the quote unquote right thing, right? To be a good girl, to be a good person, all of those things. And nothing in my life had worked out really the way I had planned. And so I was very angry and bitter. And I decided that I wanted answers. I mean, I was absolutely furious at God, the world, absolutely everyone, just completely angry. And I decided in that moment that I was going to get answers. Like if I was going to die, I wanted to know why. And in that moment, I heard this I'll remember it to this day. It was like a shotgun going off in my head. I had never had anything like this happen to me before in my life. But I heard a voice inside my head, very calm voice that said, Heather, you can accept what has happened to you with grace and dignity, or you can remain in your anger and your bitterness for the rest of your days. The time is now. Choose wisely. And I knew that something crazy was like, it was just wild, because I'm like, what was that? So I figured, awesome, I'm getting somewhere. This is great. Yeah. So I continued, on with the meditation, and I felt the presence of this being, right? I now know that to be my higher self.
Yes.
And that's what my coaching practice consists of, is helping people, kind of get it, cultivating, getting connection with that part, that aspect of their own consciousness. But I felt the presence of this being, and I just felt wave after wave of unconditional love. I can't even use words to describe it. It was like just sitting in the presence of this unconditionally loving being. And in that moment, like all of my anger and everything just kind of went away. It almost like with every wave of love that I felt, it was dissipating the anger. And I realized in that moment that I really had to choose. And so I said to myself, no matter what I do, I'm going to do it all the way. So if I choose anger, I'm going to be the most pissed off person in the world. And if I choose grace and forgiveness, I'm going to do that all the way too.
Yeah.
And so I chose, of course, to forgive and to let go. And so I said to the presence there, I said, I don't want anything from you. I don't want answers. Please help me release this and let it go. And I just want to be at peace, and if I die, fine. And if not, that's okay too. And the only thing I want is more of this love that I'm feeling. Like, can I just have more of that feeling? And, I'll be okay. I'm all right. Like, I'm at peace. So I fell asleep to the meditation, but I woke up the next morning, like overnight healed, spontaneous healing. And not only that, but I could still feel that voice. I still had that presence with me. I could still hear and see that. So, of course, knowing my background, I thought I was going crazy, because I'm like, what is going on? Oh my God. But thank God I went to the science piece of it. I was actually finishing up my undergraduate at that time, and I was studying human cognition. So my background is rooted in the science. So of course, that's what I did. I started studying Greg Braden and Bruce Lipton and every all of the spiritual teachers. I read the Vedas and the Bhagavad Gita. I went and started, educating myself on, okay, exactly how does one heal themselves with the power of their mind? And what is this inner guidance thing? What is this voice I'm hearing? And holy shit, I can have a relationship with it, and it's leading and guiding my life. So that was really my beginning of living in alignment and really having that two-way conversation with the universe. It really started out of crisis and pain. So, as I reflect on my story, I think one of the things that people get kind of caught up in is they think, whoa, spontaneous healing, you became intuitive, you can sense energy, you can feel people's feelings, like, whoa, that's so incredible. But what I like to point out is the true miracle of my story is actually the moment that I chose to surrender and forgive.
Yeah.
That's the miracle. So, and that miracle is available to every last human being on earth, that we can choose a better life for ourselves through embracing flow and forgiveness and love. You don't have to get chronically ill like I did to live an intuitively based life in flow with your truth, right? I recommend actually not doing that.
Exactly.
So that's what brought me here into living in alignment with my soul's truth. And my greatest joy since that time, it has been to coach other people into a higher self-alignment, to help them unlock their true potential and live a more empowered, happy life. That really is our birthright. So
yes,
yeah,
definitely. So can you tell us a little about the science behind intuition?
Yeah. So this is like one of my favorite topics. So when I first woke up, like most people, so like as you listen to this and as our listeners and our viewers watch this, when we think of an intuitive person, we sort of think of them as being someone who's just born that way, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the big major myths. Before I talk about the science, I want to do some myths for a little bit. So a common myth is that intuition is something that people are born with or they aren't.
Yeah.
Right. And that sort of feels true, because isn't that kind of how it is? We meet people and they just kind of are gifted in that way, right? They don't know how they do it. They just do it. They're usually like 3 years old, and ever since I was a kid, I was able to talk to angels. And, my dead grandmother was in the room and I didn't know she was dead. And, I'm talking to my grandma and my mom says, no, your grandmother's been dead for 10 years. It seems like people have had those gifts, but in reality, intuition is not a spiritual gift at all. It's really more like a creative skill that all human beings are born with. So instead of seeing it as like a special spiritual gift, look at it more like a creative skill all people are born with. It's just that some people are born with more skill in sensing non-physical information than others. So it's kind of like, a famous basketball player. Kobe Bryant was probably born with a little more talent at playing basketball than your average person, right? David Beckham was born with an incredible amount of soccer capability, right? It doesn't mean that playing soccer is spiritual in nature and he's somehow gifted. It's just, he was just born with natural talent. So that's kind of how it is for intuitive people. So if you think about it like a creative skill that you can learn, that you can learn to cultivate, it really changes the game for you in terms of discovering and beginning and really consciously choosing to live in alignment with what your gut is telling you, what your heart is telling you, what your soul is telling you, right? It makes it less esoteric. Instead of feeling like it's this kind of woo-woo out there thing I'm doing, it's like, no, today I'm going to practice living an intuitive life, like you would practice the piano or any other thing in your life.
Yeah.
Another myth about intuition that the science will show you is that it is not a supernatural ability. Intuition is actually a hardwired biopsychophysiological process that your actual body does. Okay, so now we'll jump into the research. So how do we communicate intuitively? Like what is the process through which that is happening? We all know that intuition is real. Every human being on earth, and I actually do this in my live events and stuff. You can ask a room filled with, I don't care how many people, you can say, who in here has never had a gut feeling? Who in here has never in your life, not one time, just had a feeling about someone or something? No one will raise their hand. Every human being on earth has had these experiences. Okay. So this is telling us something. It's telling us that this is our fundamental nature, right? It's that our culture doesn't value it as much as it does linear thought, cognition, rationality. We've been beat into that brain-based logic reason box, but it doesn't mean it's any more true than our intuition. So one of my favorite research experiments on intuition goes like this. So they had 26 participants in a room. And the research experiment was that they were to stare at a computer screen and a card would flash on the computer screen. They would see no image. It would literally just sit there for, I think it was 6 to 8 seconds. On the back of the card, there would be imagery, either neutral imagery, or they called it emotionally relevant stimuli. So it would be like pictures of a car crash, so really devastating, like stuff, like emotionally salient that would make you go like that, to repel away. So for, I think 45 of the cards were just neutral and 15 weren't. 15 had that emotionally laden.
Mm-hmm.
So the participants are hooked up to the EEGs, EKGs. They're measuring heart rate variability, right? Their pulse, all that stuff.
Yeah.
All they're doing is sitting there at the screen and watching these cards. They're not doing anything. They're just looking at them. And then after about 6 to 8 seconds, the image would flash and they would get to then see it with their eyes. And that's it. They just sat there and watched it and it would flash. But here's what they found when they crunched the data. That with a statistically significant result, meaning beyond chance, okay, it is not chance. This is absolutely beyond chance. The cards that had the emotionally relevant stimuli, the individuals had a physiological response to that before they ever even saw the card. Their heart registers it, the heart rate decelerates, and it takes 1 to 3 seconds before your brain to register that there's something on the back of that card that you might want to pay attention to. This is all before you ever even see it. They don't even know what, they're just looking at it, what they think is a blank card. You see what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
So what we know is that, what is the results of this? We know that on an energetic level, your heart emits an electromagnetic field that can be reliably measured off your body up to 3 feet. But scientists hypothesize that this electromagnetic field is infinite, beyond time and space, right? Which of course we all know to be true, but the science is now catching up with this.
Yeah.
So your heart field is always scanning for emotionally relevant. You're always out there looking for stuff, whether you know it or not. It's happening.
Yeah.
So your body is so smart. Your heart, the intelligence of your heart is so smart. It's constantly out there looking for stuff that is relevant and pertinent to you, right? And it comes up into the brain through your heart. Your heart has more neural connections in it. There's more neural connections going from your heart to your brain than your brain to your heart.
Oh.
So your heart is far more powerful than your brain. Like literally. I'm not like, so we hear these spiritual adages like follow your heart. You see now why that's important, because your heart is literally the one receiving the information first. Your brain is stupid. Your rational mind is stupid compared to the wisdom of our heart. And that is not a new age platitude. That is hardcore science. We now know that. Okay.
Yeah. So
it comes in and then it registers, right? So think about intuition, like how is it functioning in the brain? You know, are you, when in terms of like receiving intuitive messages, you don't have to try to receive intuitive messages. You just need to pay attention to what you're already receiving. It's kind of like saying, oh my gosh, I need to become intuitive. It's like saying, oh my gosh, I need to focus on making my blood pump through my heart right now. Or I need to focus on blinking. Like your central nerve, your autonomic nervous system is already handling. Your midbrain and hindbrain are doing those things for you. You don't have to think about it. It's just happening. Just like you breathe, just like you digest your food, that how those processes take place in your body, your intuition is exactly the same thing. So when we talk about intuitive development, when we talk about cultivating intuition, we're not talking about becoming intuitive. We're talking about the degree to which you experience and trust and adhere and live in accordance with that information. Yeah. So it's about taking an unconscious ability. It's an unconscious process that's happening all the time. Something that's unconsciously happening and making it conscious, putting it under your control, bringing it into your own awareness. So for instance, when I'm working in session with a person, I can feel into the person's energy field. I can feel their, the feelings that they're emitting. We know through that electromagnetic field, emotions are registered in that field. That's why when you walk into a room and you see a person and you're like, ugh, that's because you're picking up on the energy you're putting out and it's not a match for you, right? So like when I begin my sessions with people, I can feel into that field, and I can do it when I want to do it. I can turn it on and I can turn it off. Does that make sense? So it's about making that unconscious process something that you can use as a tool every day in your life to discover your own personal truth. Because what's right for you and what you need to be doing in your life to overcome, whatever your challenges are or to accomplish your goals. If there's one thing I know, the answers are not outside you.
No.
Those things are only something that we can give ourselves, right?
Yes.
So that is really, I think, the power of living an intuitive life, and realizing that this is not, there's no, you don't need to take this on faith, right? This isn't about whether or not you believe in it or not. It's like saying you believe in intuition and thinking intuition is real is like saying you believe the sun rises in the morning.
Yeah.
Like, you don't believe the sun is rising in the morning. Like, it's a natural phenomenon. Yes. It requires zero faith. Same thing with this. Same thing with this. And this is the one thing I want people to understand. Because until we understand that we have this ability, that we cannot claim our true empowerment until we start seeing this for what it really is, which is, it's our birthright. We're born with this. It's time we start acting like it. It's time we start claiming our natural ability to live in alignment with the universe. So,
yeah, that makes perfect sense now that you explain it. So can you please tell us how we can turn our intuitive hits into a two-way conversation with the universe?
Yes, I can. So I have developed a meditation. I call it the Higher Self Meditation Ritual. Yeah. It's super fun. So I'm a recovering perfectionist / type A personality. So when I meditate, I like to have my meditation have a framework around it. So if you go to my website, it's, and Helene, I think you'll post a link to it.
Yes.
But, it's called the Higher Self Meditation Ritual. It's a 9-minute daily ritual. It gives you 3 minutes of gratitude, 3 minutes of alignment, and 3 minutes of intention. So through research, we know that the more time we spend in emotional states like gratitude and joy, our ability to clearly interpret and become aware of that energetic, intuitive information that's coming to us, that increases as we experience positive emotion. So the meditation kicks you off with 3 minutes of gratitude. And then we do 3 minutes of feeling that connection, that alignment with your higher self. And the meditation walks you through how to do it. Yeah. And then the last 3 minutes is intention. So it's, what do you want to accomplish today? Or what do you want to put out in the world today? Yeah. So if you just do that for 9 minutes every day, it's really that simple. It doesn't have to be anything major. Lord knows we all have enough to do in our lives. So, everybody is super busy. So I wanted to just make something that's really easy for people. So you guys feel free to use that. And you also get a couple of free videos. I walk you through, each part of the meditation. And then you also get a 21-day journal to journal your insights as you go through the process. Yeah, that's important too. So you actually do it and write it down, and you can learn from that too as well. Oh, that's beautiful. Well, thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you. Thanks for letting me ramble and get all the science, the nerdy science out there. Yeah, but it's really interesting, and it's super fun to hear you speak. You're a funny speaker. Thank you. I try. Keep it light. Yeah. So thank you very much for today, and I'm sure everyone has learned a lot from you today. So to you and everyone else, just keep the Shakti flowing.